Damn, y'all feel it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What's the word, y'all? It's KTR _podcast, hashtag KTR. We are KTR. We are back and we are in the building for season 3. Yes, we are back for season 3. It's a new season. We just had our last episode 50, which was the last episode, season 2. We enter a new year, enter a new season, entering new plans, new ideas, new everything. This is episode 51 of No Rhodes podcast, live and direct with Big Harv and J-Bo himself. I'm Cinko, and my brothers, how are y'all doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. Had an amazing workout earlier. Got to get the muscles pumping for future projects. So
future projects, love to hear it. Love to hear it.
Yeah, dangling it there for you, dangling it. Yeah, yeah.
Big Harv, how you feeling?
I'm good, man. You know, it's a rare good day. You know, I'm out here. We alive. We got some sunshine. You know what I'm saying? We was chilling today.
Big Harv say it's a good day. That means a hell of a day, because you know how we get. And like I said, before we dive in this episode, everybody do this one simple favor for us real quick, and that is to follow us on all social media platforms, KTR _podcast, Twitter, Instagram, No Rhodes Podcast, Facebook, YouTube, No Rhodes Podcast, all podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Popping World, everything. And don't forget to get your merch at ProWrestlingTees.com/KTR podcast. Yes, show the merch, or show the merch. Let's dive into episode 51 real quick. Before we get to episode 51 real quick, I just want to give a quick shout out real fast. First, shout out to Carmelo Hayes for becoming a two-time North American NXT champion, the A-champ, got it back in blood. Shout out to him. And future endeavors, everything with the title reign and things to come. That man's a star. He's a star in the making. He's a star now. Ain't no star in the making. He is it. He is him. That's that. And also another shout out to Mike Outlaw
all day
and Camaro Jackson.
Camaro,
for appearing on AEW Dynamite that was live in Kansas City this past Wednesday. Got themselves their TV time. Well deserved. Proud of them boys. Proud of them. But let's dive into this episode real quick. You know, it's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of things going on in the wrestling world. It is everything is being exposed right now. That's a good word. Everything is being exposed because not too long ago, basically over a 2-year time span during the panorama when it first starts to now, it was a lot of releases happening. There was a lot of people getting let go. New changes want to be happening for a new look. NXT 2.0 was developed, and that also knocked out a lot of people that was on that roster as well, trying to clean house and start fresh. And when you do that, clean house and start fresh, numbers start to dwindle down. And when that happens, when that comes, that means you have very little to rely on with your product and your company. With that being said, this lack of depth is being shown right now. And with that could be a good thing, but right now it's also a bad thing as well. Because when that happens, ideas start to run short or just run out. You can't really rely and backpedal on everything that you used to, and you have to start fresh. With all that being said, I'm pretty sure the wrestling world knows, wrestling community knows that there's been a lot of injuries happening in the world, pretty much, with CM Punk being injured, Bryan Danielson being injured, Cody Rhodes being injured. Also with that, Roman Reigns taking his time out, sitting out, and he is the headliner of the show, holds 2 titles. Randy Orton is out too for a little bit. Not sure if that's by personal choice or injury, but he's just out of time right now. And so, yeah, we're seeing everything just be out there now. And we're going to start with the AEW side real quick first before we dive into WWE. So with that, how does the CM Punk and Bryan Danielson injuries affect AEW as a whole?
If you don't mind, Harv, I would actually like to start on this one because I know how you was very excited when CM Punk won that strap.
Know it.
That's right, for AEW. So my view on this is honestly, I'm not surprised. Not that they got hurt, but the caliber of wrestlers that they have, and just so happen to be the ones who get hurt are Daniel Bryan and CM Punk. Daniel Bryan, he's been, in the ring, going at it as much as he can, pretty much ever since he got approved to come back into the ring. CM Punk, he's been gone out of the wrestling world for over a decade. He had a little stint in the UFC for a little bit, so he had some physicality going on. But again, that was just a small stint. So he went from 10 years of no wrestling, not that hardcore schedule that the WWE had him on, a little bit of UFC, and then honestly go back to, I don't want to say hardcore, but a very vigorous schedule with AEW. And not just a rigorous schedule. The wrestlers he's in the ring with now, how they go at it, they're not the same as who he had with the WWE. Not to knock any of his opponents during that time, but AEW, it's a completely different style of wrestling. In fact, it's a more larger stage of what he was originally used to back in the good old days with Ring of Honor. So at his age, and then coming into this type of style, and for him to perform at the level they're performing him, prefer for him to perform at, the fact that he got hurt, it's upsetting, especially when he finally won the AEW title during the summer of Punk. It's very upsetting, but at his age and what they expected out of him, what he expected out of himself, I hate to say it, but it was kind of bound to happen in some capacity. He did work his way up. He didn't come back and go right for the belt, but he did come back, was in a consistent feud and wrestling regularly, and then got to the point where, he's having bloodbath matches, and then he's going toe-to-toe with Adam Page. It's a lot. So I honestly wish for his recovery, but the fact that he got hurt is not a surprise. But Daniel Bryan, we should have seen that come as well, because he's up there in age. He likes to go at it like the young guns that's in the ring. So it's upsetting, but we saw it happen. Yeah.
Big Hard.
I agree 100%. They went from very light schedules to very heavy schedules very fast. They went from basically retired. I mean, UFC is a whole nother beast, but he wasn't actively in the ring as much. But he went from basically training and sparring to working. And now, for real, it's commonplace for most people to be doing the strong style. Everybody goes harder. Everybody's trying to be more impactful. To that, it was bound to happen. It really was. They were going too hard. I feel like what they're doing with Roman Reigns is smart with that, because he has a history, has medical history, and because it's too easy for him to get hurt. I feel like he still needs to be making appearances, but matches, definitely don't feel like he needs to have every week. That adds to the value of the championship and to him as a champion. He's beat everybody. He doesn't need to have weekly matches, but he does need to make appearances. Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, same boat. Y'all just went too hard, and you got to admire it, because that's what they love to do. CM Punk was so long, he finally found a passion again to go that hard for everybody, and he did. And I like that. I feel like they're building towards more of an angle like how him and CM Punk did, though. Like with the interim champion thing, it doesn't mean that he stripped of the title. That means they got a placeholder. So when he comes back, he's gonna, that's an immediate feud. That's immediately something for him to jump into. I just hope that he takes his time more after this. Jordan, I hope that he's not hurt, but because the roster is so thin, it does feel like they wouldn't have him on the bench unless there was something that needed to be addressed. They don't have that many people that can hold the higher part of the card, the top of the card, on the roster right now. They need somebody like him there. So yeah, all in all, it's everybody's pretty much in a bad spot because of these things, but it's not really end all be all. Cody Rhodes is another one that was unfortunate to me, but I feel like he really shouldn't have had that match. He really shouldn't have had that match. He worked a great match. I'm not gonna lie.
Hard. we were specifically talking about AEW at first.
Randy Orton and Roman Reigns and everybody.
No, we were. I said let's start AEW first. Then you start, going on to WWE and everything. No, I heard one. I heard one mention. I was like, okay, it's cool. Then he went to another one. Okay, we want to save Cody Rhodes later on in the show. No, you was about to knock out a 30-minute show within 10 minutes when you did all that. So we was gonna be sitting there like, well, that's it, everybody. But I appreciate the passion, honestly, yeah. But we'll dive into that later. But yeah, but like I said, I agree though with the whole Bryan Danielson and CM Punk. Can't be Father Time, first of all, and I see where the direction that the WWE was going with Daniel Bryan when they didn't want to put too much on, because I see it because we see it now. Now you see why they want him to do too much, and with that, especially for injury-prone people. That is bound to happen. But it's a great thing that they do have a love and a passion for wrestling, and that they do want to display. They want to put their whole heart into it.
Yep.
But at the same time, you got to know your limitations. You got to know when to slow it down. And you got to know when is the right time to execute. Go real hard for those, those pay-per-views, take your time on the Dynamites and the Rampages and all those shows. And then just kick it up a notch, for the main show. Do segments on the TV shows on the Wednesday and the Friday. So yeah, like I said, just gotta take it slow. But also, it is a bad thing that they are injured. And hope for them to have a speed recovery. But at the same time, I feel like it's good for the roster as well, because AEW has so many people on their roster. It's deep as hell. This is just another time and place to help build up somebody. It could have been done real quick, even though they do have John Moxley. He's going to be wrestling at the Forbidden Door for the AEW title. I feel like that would have been the perfect opportunity just to put somebody else in that position that wasn't, of the John Moxley or whoever had it first with Adam Hangman Page or something like that. Just somebody new. Especially so be ready in time for that pay-per-view that's in a couple of weeks at the end of June in Chicago. So that would have been a perfect way, because all eyes are going to be on that show because it's combined with New Japan Pro Wrestling. So that would just been a perfect opportunity to build people. Like there's perfect opportunity now because you have two big name wrestlers for that brand are gone now temporarily. And so that's a time to build somebody else new for the time being. And once those two wrestlers come back, they can have that feud that could build their name up even more. So that was something that I was just thought about. I was hoping that Kyle O'Reilly did win that match against John Moxley. But I said, wait for it for another time though. So we'll see how that goes. Do you have any 2 cents about that real quick before we move on?
Yeah, because and you brought up a good point with AEW's roster. AEW, they actually have a much better opportunity than the WWE. We'll talk about them in a minute, but AEW, they have enough wrestlers on the roster where, people like CM Punk, people like Daniel Bryan, hey, they hurt, they had to step away for a while, but they can still bring up other wrestlers who are perfectly capable of main eventing and carrying the world title and being a star in their absence. And back to your point, CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, whoever, they can come back and boom, automatic feud. They have to, and we talk about this all the time, but their roster is oversaturated. But that can be a good thing if they take advantage of the opportunities like CM Punk and Daniel Bryan not being there for a moment. So they have that opportunity.
Right, because the thing about I see on the AEW roster, I see loads of potential main card talents that could be in that world title picture. Like I really see it, and that's just aside from some of the wrestlers that did get released from WWE to AEW. Like there's some AEW superstars on there too that could be one of those top tier wrestlers on there. And like I was just hoping that would just be that opportunity to put them on that main stage, and hopefully they have their chance. somebody like, you know, and I see like they all have their other storylines on the side too, but like that world title storyline is just a bigger difference from like you have your TV time storyline, but you know, they'll get their chance hopefully along the road.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right, Harv, you ready now? We're gonna talk about WWE again. I'm just saying you just got a little ahead of schedule. That's all. So you don't want to speak. You don't want to speak. All right, let's talk about the injuries on the WWE side. Like I said, basically, the main top people on the roster pretty much. Yes. Brock Lesnar's not there. Roman Reigns isn't there. Randy Orton isn't there. Cody Rhodes isn't there. Cody Rhodes probably gonna be gone for between 3 to 6 months with that torn pec injury because that's his timetable of recovery. So don't be looking forward to him trying to make an appearance at Money in the Bank because I highly doubt that's gonna happen. Roman Reigns is rumored to not make an appearance until SummerSlam. He was going to make an appearance at Money in the Bank, but due to the fact that the ticket sales weren't up to par and it got moved to the MGM Grand Arena instead of the Raider Stadium, they took him off of that. So we're not going to see Roman Reigns until the end of July, beginning of August. You're not going to see Brock Lesnar until God knows how long. We're not going to see Cody Rhodes and probably till the end of the year. And yeah, here we are with that. So first, let's talk about the person with the 2 titles, Roman Reigns. How is his absence affecting the business?
I have a philosophy when it comes to championship titles. When you are the world champion, to be honest, you honestly do not have to wrestle on the regular shows. You don't. You are the top dog, no pun intended. You are the main champion. You're the main attraction. You should not have to. The only time you should wrestle is at the main event of the premium live events, period. And then, you know, we got our mid-card titles where, you know, they should wrestle regularly. They don't have to defend their title regularly, but they should wrestle regularly. When you have somebody like Roman Reigns, who has been dominating the WWE pretty much the entire time he's been there, but more specifically over the last 2 years, and now he's held not just the WWE championship, but the universal title, like that's literally all of your main titles. That's literally all. There is absolutely no excuse why he doesn't at least show up. I like the big fight feel. Brock Lesnar, he had that, but I don't know. I'm more interested in Roman Reigns having a big fight feel.
Because you're biased.
You're right. I am. I'm not even gonna lie. But yes, I like the Roman Reigns big fight feel, and it's not just him, but anybody who can really carry the main event, they should have that presence. My problem, however, is okay, Money in the Bank went to a smaller venue, fine, but he should at least still have a match on the card. He is the champion. It can even be a squash match. I don't like him, but like he is the champion. The fact that you're just not using him at all, like it's hard to continue building that prestige. There needs to be a balance. There needs to be a balance between having big time fights and not showing up at all. And right now, literally waiting until SummerSlam and then the one show in Welsh that's coming up. Yeah. Like that, I think that's too slim for what honestly they can do with Reigns. But yeah, that's upsetting. But we'll just talk about Reigns for now. Yeah.
There you go, Harv. It's opportunity.
I agree. That's basically what I was getting at earlier. I'm not as upset that he's not going to be at Money in the Bank or that he's not going to have a match as I am that he's not going to be there. He could be there at a different capacity. Hell, he could sit out there during the Money in the Bank match just to get suspense between him and whoever the hell wins. You know what I'm saying? Should make appearances. He could sit on commentary. Or he could sit at the table while Paul Heyman's on. Because they did so many things back in the Attitude Era that makes it so much more memorable. Mm-hmm. We don't even really care about how trash some of the matches were. The angles, the things that they did, the way that they built people were what captured us and what made us love these characters. So I just feel like the way that they're going about it with him just not being there at all, if it's not a health thing, it's really lazy. And it's just not the right way to go about having him there as champ.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I agree. It should be some type of balance. I know because we already know how rigorous the WWE schedule is. You know, they have their weekly show on Monday and Friday, and they also have their house shows in between the week as well. And with that, since you want to make him a dual champion, like I said, just have him have his appearance on TV and not necessarily wrestle, just like I said, just have him doing commentary, do a segment, have him sit in backstage, I'm pretty sure he's not going to get injured if somebody backstage just comes to jump. They have like a little 10-15 second fist fight that gets broken up after commercial comes on. Like just something along like just have his face there to keep.
You could even pre stuff like that. They used to
you could pre-tape. They could have pre-taped that just weeks on end and just have it there.
They could have them there via satellite like The Rock used to do. Come on, man.
Right.
I think for me, it'll build more prestige if they are there in comparison to just not there at all. Just imagine, you see this champion, you see him every week. They come out, he's trash talking, like you mentioned, he's on commentary. Like he ain't doing it, but he's showing up. People's wondering when the next time he's gonna wrestle, and he's just like enticing the fans, enticing the crowd, just putting all a complete overhill work. And then when you finally get to see that match, now the crowd is invested. You can't get that when he's just not there. Okay, there's nothing to look forward to. But yeah,
I said hopefully may come back. When he does come back, he makes a little bit more regular appearances, or they just figure out what to do with the titles. Because it looks like he's gonna hold the title for a great minute until we figure out this whole situation. It really, one way he's gonna lose the title is whoever wins the Money in the Bank and whoever wins the Royal Rumble. I feel like those are only two ways that they're going to separate these titles and get them off of them, because that's it. That's the only way. That's how I see it happening, because it's got to be some type of weird stipulation where they just make him not necessarily look weak, but just lose, just somehow randomly, some way, pretty much, because you have to split these titles up eventually, pretty much. They're like, I feel like that's the way to go, because I feel like they should not enforce a brand split, which we are about to implement this topic next, actually, on doing a brand split or not. I do not think that the WWE should do a brand split. Granted, I understand that their roster is limited. Granted, I know that they don't know what to do much with the roster at the same time, but splitting the brand is just provide more opportunities for those that don't get TV time. I messed up my words. Yeah, that's the best way of people don't get TV time anymore. Like it's certain things like that, because we see the same people, the main characters on both shows. We see the Usos on both shows. We're gonna see Riddle on both shows. Like you have opportunities to split these up and like show favor and face of other people that you have. We just saw Apollo appear on NXT. I'm not sure if that's a way of helping putting over somebody over there, or help build a storyline up for the NXT people, or is that you have no room on the main roster to display his talents when he can be, when y'all had a good gimmick going on for him when he had Commander Aziz as a backup, but that just went out the water. So that's my take on it.
I don't know. Like I'm indifferent when it comes to this brand split. For the most part, I want to keep the brand split. Raw, SmackDown roster, for the most part, I feel like they should keep that. But I'm also looking at the last 4 or 5 year history that the WWE had, where they have a brand split and they've had it for a while, but who has really came out on top? Who's really been able to get an opportunity? And you have more TV time. So it doesn't benefit. Like, let's say just keep on going. No one's really going to get that opportunity unless there is a mental idea that, okay, we need somebody more than just 3 top people: Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and I don't know, Seth Rollins, or Randy Orton, whoever they're using. So until that mindset is gone, it honestly doesn't matter if there's a brand split or not. They're still not going to be given the opportunities they really deserve.
That's actually a really good point when you think about it. The same cats that were on top 5 years ago are still the same ones who are on top now, except for the ones that have been fired. That's literally the only difference. They don't give people opportunities like we feel like they will when things like this happen. That's the sad part, because I feel like the brand should be split because of more opportunities being given. I feel like the champ, I've always felt like there should be one champ. I hate the thought of two world titles. That just doesn't make sense to me. That just doesn't make sense. There's one world champion. That's why it's the world champion. Universal always sounded stupid. Always just didn't make sense. No aliens in WWE. There's no way. But world title should always be one person. Everybody else should be split. Two mid cards made sense. Then you got 24/7 cruiserweight. You have such a packed roster. You should be able to make it work. But if you look at the track record, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they have them combined. It doesn't matter if they have them separate. It's the people. They don't. It's about creating people. They're not creating their stars.
By the way, Harv, the reason why there's no aliens in the WWE is because Chris Statlander is actually an AEW. Just so you know.
That's a good point.
Yeah, there you go.
Like I said, they had so many opportunities just to build people up, and like and the fact they got rid of the cruiserweight title, which would help the smaller wrestlers out. That was just a low blow, because
that proves our point even more.
That was just something. 24/7 title is basically the PG version of the hardcore title, if we're being real. So yeah, that's that. So it is what it is with that title, but it's just like the two world titles. It makes sense to me, because I understand you you want to have your best champion. I understand that requires one person, but if you have two separate shows, it helps with the idea and the tactic of the Survivor Series show. Don't shake your head at me, Harv. Like I said, it helps out with, I'm gonna turn off the camera, you're gonna keep shaking your head at me. So like I said, so it helps out with the Survivor Series. It helps put over another wrestler just to make them a big name. Like during the time when like 3 or 4 years ago, back then, like when Brock Lesnar was a champion on Raw, like SmackDown, you had the championship go from like a person like AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan, people that wouldn't really get the opportunity because of their stature. And so obviously the big monster guy was the champion on one show, and like the finesse wrestler that finally got the opportunity was the champion on the other show. Like, I feel like that's what it's worth and what it's good for. And also good for like other wrestlers too, I don't know why they don't want to pull a trigger on other wrestlers to give them a chance. Yeah. Like, they're in the WWE for a reason. You gave them a contract for a reason. You had some type of idea or belief from some time ago. Yeah. What happened?
It's temporary. That thought process is always temporary. It's good for the initial hype, and afterwards you're being fed to somebody. And honestly, to your point about having the two separate world titles, I mean, I can see that. Harv, I can see the theory in it, but my only caveat with the idea of having two world champions is that if that works, you have to keep Raw and SmackDown completely separate. Completely separate. Think back in the day in the early, the World Heavyweight title and the WWE title, okay? Like, they had their own pay-per-views. Like, SmackDown and Raw were just separate.
They did have their own pay-per-views.
Have show, like Survivor Series or something like that, like, it's a huge deal that when you have these two brands come together. It's not that big a deal where you have two separate brands, but they share a pay-per-view every month. It kills that. And so unless they just completely separate them where it's like two completely different worlds, that the idea of two world titles will always be a little more lackluster over time.
And it's never going to work because they don't build people. We main event pool 5 or 6 people deep, and half of them are not there right now. It just doesn't work. That's why they always bring them back together after a couple years. It just doesn't work. They don't build people fast enough. That's the point. The same point you're making with the two world titles is literally the point of the mid-card title. That's the stepping stone. That's where the people who can actually do their job get that shine and move up. That's what they're supposed to be for, not the world title. Opinion. I mean, understand if what J-Bo said, if they were completely separate, they didn't see each other except Survivor Series, bragging rights, WrestleMania, stuff like that. That would make perfect sense. Yeah, have two separate titles because nobody sees each other. That makes, but not the way they've been doing it the past decade, man. They just toss people around. Oh, we made a trade. Oh, it's been a superstar shakeup. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So with that, because I remember you said that the main event pool is just of 6 people that's not there, pretty much correct. So with that, this I guess is gonna tie into the Judgment Day group. Was of the group of Edge, Rhea Ripley, Fine Ass, and Damian Priest. And so they just added Finn Balor to the group as well. And since they added him, they kicked Edge out. And do you think with this group changing over and kicking Edge out of the group is a way to basically get a new main event person on the card again?
No. And the reason why I said no is because I actually looked forward to the Judgment Day. Me personally, I wasn't a big fan of Damian Priest. I'm a big fan of Punishment Martinez, but I don't really care for Damian Priest ever since, he came over. But when him and Rhea Ripley was tied to Edge, okay, now they're a bit more interesting. But now you replace Edge with another wrestler they've been flopping with over the past few years. You're literally right back in the same position with these 3 people. It's just now they're all together being friends. So it's not a beneficial move. Now, if Edge was still, the main one in charge and Finn Balor was added, we could have a conversation. But again, this is just another faction they're just throwing together that they're just hoping for the best, honestly.
I was really hoping for somebody younger rather than Finn, because even though he hasn't been utilized properly, and I'd love to see him get what he deserves as far as being a main event guy in WWE, he's just on the older side. Like, he's known as a certain way. He's got the demon persona, which we don't never really see. And I just don't feel like he fits with Damian Priest and Machine Gun Kelly. I just don't feel like they really go well together.
Wait, hold on, time out. You are not about to talk about it. Yeah, like he just slid that in there like that easily.
That was slick.
Right. I'm like, wait, who? I'm like, wait, you heard said Finn Balor? Like, no, we're not about to disrespect the beautiful Rhea Ripley.
Dive into punk rock, just like that's what Punishment Martinez really looks like right now. He's got the hard rock look, so they work well with tag team. I just don't feel like Finn Balor really works with the group. I agree with what people were saying about Edge being kind of silly. And silly with the promos because they didn't really work well. But I feel like they should have just adjusted. They should have just, adjusted the course and did something different with him. They shouldn't have kicked him out and made Finn the leader of the group, in my opinion.
Is Finn the leader of the group?
No, it doesn't look like Finn is the leader. It should look like they're literally just a faction of 3. That's what it looks like.
That's what I think. I thought it might have been Damian Priest probably. If there was a leader, but like I said, I agree too. It might just be just like a group of friends just doing this thing together, with their little niche. Yeah. But we'll see how that turns out. Like, I thought they broke that up because they saw how limited the roster was, and then they need another top tier good guy to come in the mix. And I feel like that would be Edge coming back, possibly. Making his face turn. Maybe. I'm just saying, maybe.
Factions need a standout. Somebody has to stand out. Even if they're not a leader, somebody has to stand out. Finn Balor is going to stand out over Damian Priest just because he's Finn Balor, and people have been waiting for Finn Balor to ascend. MGK really got to wait until the women.
See, that was his last strike. That was his last strike. I told him not to disrespect her. I told him. It's all right. We're gonna unmute him. I apologize, everybody. So yeah, we're back.
I'm sorry. I'm only saying mess with Cinko. I honestly, Rhea Ripley is very talented. Probably on the roster right now, the best wrestler on the roster, other than, in my opinion, Asuka and
Charlotte,
of course, Bianca Belair.
Bianca Belair, yes.
I feel like she really fits that group and could really benefit from being with somebody like Edge. And I feel like Damian Priest really fit the bill. I just don't feel Finn Balor like that in that group. I love Finn Balor as a character. I feel like he has everything that he needs, just not in that.
True. I agree. All right. Okay, now we're on to the last person. Last but not least, Cody Luther King.
Oh my God, no, he didn't.
Cody Rhodes.
Oh man.
Cody Rhodes ended up tearing his pectoral muscle days before the Hell in a Cell match. And he ended up actually wrestling in that match with a torn pec. And we saw it. It was disturbing, but he put on a great performance for the love of the sport and everything. Like I applaud him and everything. And everything is done. We could tell that he's really dedicated to what he is doing within this business. And with that, how do you feel about that Hell in a Cell match that he had with the super freak himself, Seth Rollins? And how do you think this injury affects the WWE as a whole with his appearance not being there on the show?
I'm gonna say,
oh Lord,
he hasn't won me over.
We
I'm
know Harv.
still not a big. All right, what's coming to the big leagues or whatever you want to call them, but I respect how he went out there and did that. I also feel like it was not a very smart decision because he could have injured himself further. I feel like if anybody he should have been out there with, it was Seth Rollins. So that's really the best person you could have had to work that kind of match. And they were very careful. It takes me back to really like Daniel Bryan's injury and stuff like that when they were stopping matches and just weren't letting him compete at all. Makes me wonder why they even let him go out there to do that. I feel like it's not really going to hurt his momentum because he just came back and people are going to have that image of him in his head until he returns. So it's not really going to hurt him as much as it's going to hurt the company. I feel like that's a big investment. They banked on him through the summer into the winter. They banked on having Cody Rhodes there. So they got to fill another spot.
I agree with Harv. You know, despite how I feel about him going out there and wrestling with a torn pectoral muscle, because it looked terrible. I know it felt terrible. I have to give him credit because that couldn't have been me. It couldn't, because if that thing is torn, well, y'all gonna have to find somebody else, real talk. Okay, and real fast, because that it could have been so much worse.
Yeah.
It could have been so much worse. And if you think about it, if you watch the match, it was a great match, but it was actually very safe for a Hell in a Cell match. It was actually very safe.
That was the safest Hell in a Cell match I ever seen.
The safest, yes, it was, but it was still good. And honestly, I still feel, even though it was the safest Hell in a Cell match, he still took one too many bumps than I was more than comfortable with. So I'm not gonna lie, watching that match, it was cringe. It was not cringe in a bad way. It was cringe like, dude, like you have a terrible injury right now. Like, stop
It was. He took that jacket off. I was like, ooh.
Dude, when he took the jacket off, the entire crowd went silent for a good 4 seconds.
You
like
heard it was a unified gasp, and that was it.
Quiet. So for that, I have to give him credit to say, no, I came back. A whole lot of people, both backstage and the crowd, expect so much of me. I'm going to at least finish this match. And he did that. And when he comes back, he's going to get a bigger pop than ever. It just, I don't agree with going out there with that one. But hey, you know, if you went out there, you did the way he did, I have to give him nothing but respect for that.
That man crazy as hell. I ain't gonna lie to you. That, because boy, that arm was falling off the bone. It was falling off the bone. But like I said, respect. That's a lot of heart to do something like that, to just, you know, to do it for the love of the company, the love for the fans and everything. That was just a big risk. But yeah. But at the same time, like that, his appearance, well, his not appearance, but what's the word? His presence, yeah. His presence is going to be missed heavily within this bit. Why is somebody cutting grass outside?
My grass cutting person just stopped.
Yeah,
thank you.
Like I say, his presence is going to be heavily missed for throughout this summer and fall because he's not coming back to the end of the year.
Yeah,
unfortunately, that's just how it's going to be. But yeah, like I said, oh man, like I said, that was a very safe match. You watch it like carefully on like how they were like, even when Seth Rollins was attacking the arm, like you could tell just like how careful he was and still
punches. Yeah, but he was still effective.
Right.
I was laughing while I was watching when he grabbed the cane from under the ring and then start swatting at him because you could tell he was like he was really tapping him real soft with it.
Right.
But the way Rollins was flailing, he knows how to sell. Like I don't think he gets enough credit in his role for putting Cody Rhodes over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
truly has been.
Yeah, Seth Rollins got to put the company on his back now for the rest of the year because they
really do.
Because he's up there right now. Seth Rollins is probably like with the roster right now is the best superstar in the company right now.
Yeah, hands down,
and easily.
You're right. He's the only one, and the only one they are trying to build close right now is Matt Riddle. If you pay attention, so there is a large distance. Large distance.
Right. So, like I said, we're gonna see with that. Hope and pray for a speed recovery. You know, he had successful surgery, and we're just gonna wait to see what happens and hope for the best and hope he gets here soon enough. But with that being said, that is all the time that we have for today. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for checking in with your boys at KTR. And before we sign off, y'all gotta do this one simple favor for us, and that is to follow us on all social media platforms, KTR_podcast, Twitter, Instagram, Another Rose Podcast, Facebook, YouTube, Another Rose Podcast, all podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Podbean World, everything. And don't forget to get your merch at ProWrestlingTees.com/KTR Podcast. This is episode 51, Know the Rose Podcast, season 3, new beginnings, fresh new start, and we are out.
This dude said machine gun killer. What should they do, Big Harv?
Bump them numbers, baby. Yeah.
That don't compute in my mind. I must be out of mind. Black fist high, rally up before we out of time.